For the last time this year, we see the UFC put on an event this weekend at UFC Vegas 112 as they return to the Apex with a high-stakes flyweight matchup between Brandon Royval and Manel Kape. We got some fun fights sprinkled out throughout the card as well, not to mention two short-notice fights that were put on this card. Very much looking forward to ending off the year with the UFC. We got PFL going down in the afternoon, going down in France. I'll have breakdowns for that later this evening, so stay tuned for that. And then we also have some regional shows going down to end off the year, which I'll only be breaking down on the Lock of the Night Patreon page. If you show enough love on the next few videos here, maybe I'll do a main event breakdown for those cards, but the full card breakdowns for those will be on the MMA LOTN Patreon page. That's KSW, that's Octagon, that's PFL Africa. But again, this is the quick picks version of the UFC Vegas 112 breakdowns, which means I'm going to get right to the point of every single fight, meaning I'll be leaving out some details as to why I think a certain side is going to win the fight. So if you want more details on why I'm picking a certain fighter to win, make sure you guys check out the MMA Lawcast, which I dropped earlier this week, going close to an hour, breaking down the entire 12-fight card. That is with the exception of the two short notice fights that were put together. I just dropped a video earlier today breaking down those two fights in its entirety. Hope you're laced up and ready to go because we're off and running with the first fight of the night between Jamie Lynn Horth and Teresa Bleda. I believe Horth is a very solid fighter, but I think Bleda will be able to take advantage of her with her grappling, top pressure, and consistent game in terms of shutting down the striking of Horth and then getting that top position and grinding this fight out. Give me Teresa Bleda by decision. Next up, we got Alan Frye going up against Guilherme Pat, a battle of two UFC newcomers, both guys with a lot of questions in their game still, but I'm going to lean with the athleticism, power, and speed of Pat to eventually find that big shot against Frye and to win this fight by knockout. Next up, we got Luana Santos going up against Melissa Croden. It seems like Croden is the fan favorite in terms of the best underdog on the card, and I tend to agree. I think her striking skill set will allow her to land big shots on Santos, and I believe her strength will allow her to keep this fight standing and force Santos to strike with her. And in that range, I think Croden is just a better fighter, and I think that will allow her to keep her finishing streak alive as she goes out there and TKOs Santos within 2 or 3 rounds. Next up, we got Sharaf going up against Steven Asplund. A little bit of a low-level heavyweight fight here, but if Asplund's durability and takedown defense holds up, I expect him to start running away with this fight in the second round and eventually muster up a TKO over Sharaf. Next up, we got Magny going up against former Bellator welterweight champion and UFC debutant Yaroslav Amosov. It's been a long time coming for the 27-1 Amosov to get into the UFC, and I fully expect him to go out there and put the pressure on Magny, get to his grappling, and eventually get to a submission win. Next up, we got Joanderson Brito going up against Isaac Thomson. Thomson comes into the UFC on super short notice here for his debut, but unfortunately for him, he's fighting a very aggressive and tough Joanderson Brito. Look for Brito to dictate the pace of this fight with his power punching, corral Thomson against the cage, threaten with takedowns, but for the most part, be the one moving forward and doing damage, and ultimately leading to Brito winning this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got Amanda Lemos going up against Jillian Robertson. I'm kind of surprised Robertson is at minus 200 here, but when you see that she's put together a quiet 4-fight winning streak, I can understand why. But with that said, I still believe Lemos will be her toughest challenge to date, and I think Lemos should be able to stop most of the grappling from Robertson, pick her apart on the feet, and then eventually lead to a knockout win for the Brazilian. Next up, we got King Green going up against Lance Gibson Jr. This is the second short notice fight to be put together on Fight Week, and I think even though Gibson Jr. deserves to be in the UFC, this is too big of a step up in competition for him. He's facing somebody with 5 times his MMA experience, and as long as Green's durability, which has been a little bit shaky as of late, is able to hold up against some of the power from Gibson, I expect Green to showcase a classic Bobby Green performance where he picks apart Gibson Jr. with his striking and wins this fight on the scorecards. Next up, we got Kennedy Nzechukwu going up against Marcus Buchecha. There has been some love coming in on Buchecha to bring this closer to a pick'em fight, but I'm still going to lean with the Nigerian fighter here, as I think that Nzechukwu can force Buchecha to strike with him, and I think that will allow Nzechukwu to eventually muster up a TKO finish by round 2. Next up, we got Melquizael Costa going up against Morgan Charriere. A pick and fight for good reason, but I think it's going to be the aggressiveness of Costa that takes advantage of the somewhat tepid pace striking approach that Charriere normally brings to the table. Charriere could absolutely crack Costa and have some success there, but I think it's going to be Costa who has his foot on the gas for most of this fight, and once this fight ends up hitting the scorecards, I expect the Brazilian to get his hand raised. Next up, we got a fun matchup here between Cesar Almeida and Cezary Oleksiejczuk. I believe Oleksiejczuk has more paths to victory, and even though that this is his UFC debut, he has built a good enough strength of schedule on the regional scene to be more than UFC ready. I expect him to really stay competitive with Almeida in the striking realm, and then eventually drag this fight to the ground where he can muzzle Almeida and end up winning this fight on the scorecards. Next up in the co-main event, we got Giga Chikadze going up against Kevin Vallejos. On paper, this should provide a very good striking battle, but I expect the youngster Vallejos to really start mixing in some takedowns and keeping Chikadze on the tip of his toes, and I think that's going to cause Vallejos the advantage of mixing this game up well enough, using his power striking, mixing in his takedowns, mixing in the clinch, and then putting together a good enough body of work to win this fight on the scorecards. And that leads us to our high-stakes flyweight main event between Brandon Raw Dog Royval and Manel Kape. Unfortunately for Royval, even though he did earn himself a title shot just a few years back, I don't think we will ever see him fight for another title again. He's taken on Manel Kape here, who will be too bad of a stylistic matchup for Raw Dog, as I think Kape can really counter the reckless style of Royval, landing his bigger shots, stopping the takedowns, and really dictating the pace as he counters Royval and then starts to move forward with his power punching style. I fully expect Kape to land the bigger, better shots, and I expect Royval's durability to hold up, which should eventually lead to Kape winning this fight on the scorecards. There you guys go. Quick picks for UFC Vegas 112. Again, I'll be back later this evening, hopefully later this evening. Knock on wood, I'm able to get my breakdowns done by then for PFL Europe 4. So plenty of content still coming your way. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys again later this evening. Peace.